This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with your boy Omar Adori in the heart of Sharjah on Pulse 95 Radio. Hope you're having a blessed day and a good day right ahead of you today. Wow, we are on Wednesday already, and a lot of things have been happening in the world of health and fitness and sport and all that good stuff. So we're going to be talking about today. My question of the day, and I posted this on my Instagram and had some very interesting responses, is what sport has the fittest athletes on the planet? Let that marinate for a second. That's a very good point, you know. It might sound obvious, but it actually isn't. There's so many different things. And the ones that answered who Googled it, I know who you are. Because if you Google it, the answer comes out. And so there's no one answer for the show, but then I'm going to take it even one step further and ask you, what is fit? And what is fitness? So now when I put that all in context and say what sport has the fittest athletes on the planet, you're going to be talking to me about that today on the show. And also, we are talking about the UAEs Fittest travel to Wisconsin to represent the region. But which sport are we talking? Now, we also have Sifan Hassan, who wins gold and actually attributes it to coffee. So there we go. I watched the other day oh man, it was amazing. Her first Olympic gold medal in the 5,000 meters. God, they were rapid. We're discussing that. And of course, answering all your questions. Couple of special shout outs as well to my favorite people. We've got Amna, Aisha, Maria, Amal, Alize. Who else we got? Of course, Mustafa, Masoud, Florin, and everyone else who's tuned in. And oh yeah, Aisha and Ryan and Ronaldo. There you go. I didn't forget you guys. Stay tuned for more on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Yes, we are back on the Halftime Show in the heart of Sharjah on Pulse 95 Radio. And it's your boy Omar Adori on the hour with you on the only place to be at 3. Right, okay. So the question of the day is, what sport has the fittest athletes on the planet? Now, the good thing about this question is it's had so many different answers and so many people really be shooting different things. But what qualifies those athletes to be the fittest? Now, when you see it, so many athletes claim to be the fittest. But what does that consist of? And we discussed that today, and which comes to mind. What kind of training are they doing? Where are they at in the world? Is it the location? Is it the environment? Is it the coaches? Or is it their mindset and where they're at? Now, that's something that we're going to drop by you. Now, we've had a couple of people already shoot their answers. We've had American football. We've had rugby. We've had swimming. We've had... What else did you guys say on here? Now, there's one answer that you probably won't expect this. And the only way I'll know that you guys Googled it is if you typed in this answer. Because if you do Google it, what sport has the fittest athletes? You know what comes up? Water polo. Who would have thought that? And I was speaking to Miffy about this earlier. But water polo is considered the most physically demanding sport based on ratings. Now again, what does that consist of? On the Google it says water polo is rated the overall fitness rating of a percentage of 80.3% of how the body is demanding. Rugby's next, American football is after that, and then you've got the UFC, which is mixed martial arts. But see, this is the thing, and this is where I wanted to discuss this with you today. We think of athletes, and you think of, some of the biggest athletes, superstars in the world, and you think of people like Cristiano Ronaldo, for example. You think of people like LeBron James. You think of people like Khabib Nurmagomedov. You think of, some superstar, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo. You think of some big ones. I'm only just naming a few before you shoot more people at me, right? I'm only naming a few. But saying that, there's a difference between that level of fitness where you're going endurance, which is long distance, and some people said triathlons as well, because obviously it consists of your swimming, your running, and your cycling. And that's another thing as well. That's massive. But then again, if you put the triathletes in a boxing ring and tell them to go 10 rounds with a boxer, that's a different level of fitness. If you have someone who's playing a 90-minute game and they're, let's say, playing in the center of the midfield, for the 90 minutes, and they're going box to box, that's also quite demanding. So there's not one answer for everything, but the type of fitness that is required normally with all these different sports that challenges you is something that makes us think, okay, so what are our goals and what are the things that we want to do? I'm not surprised to see American football on there because some of those boys can move and even some of those women can move as well who play the sport. But it's the weight that they're carrying and the armor that they have on, plus the helmet, and the impact that they're taking. I would have probably thought that would been in there. But then again, when you look at the different types of physiques, you look at a swimmer's body and how much work they do underwater, they've definitely got a big shout there. So I'm not surprised that water polo is in there. I just didn't think it would be first, and I thought I'd bring that to the surface today. And yesterday when I posted it on my Instagram, people were messaging water polo and they were laughing, and then one person said, I googled it, just like Maria now just said now on the on the Instagram live. She's like, water polo, and then she said, I googled it. At least you're honest. But that's my point. There's so many different factors there that asks the question, what sport has the fittest athletes on the planet? And then I'd like to see them compete in different exercises, different things. So there used to be this documentary called Castrol Presents Cristiano Ronaldo, and it tested him in several different ways. It put him up against a sprinter running forward, but then again, if you think about it with football or sports like football, you don't just run straight. So then it made him go to zigzag or eights as they call them, and then it put things with cognitive stuff involved in there. They took out the lights and set a ball over, and he had to kind of react to it. So reaction timing, jumps. So I think of basketball players when I think of jumps and the amount of agility and power they do to explode off the ground. So I was thinking of all those type of things, and then I was thinking about mixed martial arts. And when I see some of the training that the mixed martial artists do, that really entices me. I really look at that and go, wow. So they go from wrestling to grappling, from grappling to jiu-jitsu to boxing, and then they'll do some conditioning. And that in itself made me think, God, it's got to be up there. But I'll spin something your way. A lot of the athletes go to Denver, Colorado, or places of that high altitude to challenge, their heart, their lungs, their system. And that's something that made me think about it. And I only knew how serious it was. And Aisha, I know you're probably watching this as well, that when I went down to Denver, Colorado to train out there, and I normally train out here fine, that's not really a problem. But when I went out there for 15 minutes of the warm-up, I was gassed. I'm not even gonna lie. I was gassed and I was thinking, God, why is it so much harder today? Well, altitude training is real, and it's something that exists. And when you go out to these kind of places and you train out there, the breath work is so key. So I think it comes down to who can manage their breathing through different situations. I also think it's being able to absorb what's coming your way without panicking, without any anxiety, and trying to push yourself forward. But that's where I was lying with this question. I was thinking, I wonder what kind of answers would come up next. And the first answer that came up was water polo. So I bet you didn't know that. Now everyone's gonna go and try water polo and see what it's about. But it requires so much stuff. And I think it's only right now that with the Olympics that's happening that it makes us think about different factors. Right, okay, coming up next, we're talking about the UAE's fittest CrossFitters who travel to Wisconsin to represent the region. How far has CrossFit come? Enjoy the break, folks. We'll be right back after this.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Yes, we are back, and we're back on the Halftime Show. Shout out to everyone who is tuned in on the Instagram Live at Omar Al-Duri. Thank you very much for connecting with me. It's great to have you here. And the question of the day was, what sport has the fittest athletes on the planet? I love the answers that have been coming out. And I also know cheat. I also know who went and Googled it. So guys, stop Googling the answers. Tell me how you think and tell me how you feel. Text us on 4215. It's the Salat or do and let me know what sport has the fittest athletes on the planet in your eyes. Right, okay. Now, speaking about fittest athletes, the UAE has sent out its fittest to travel to Wisconsin to represent the region in the CrossFit Games. Now, how far has CrossFit gone? This is insane. There's 4 people here. There's Badr Al-Nouri, Shahad Boudebs, Kat Fearon, and Mahmoud Shalan. And they are the 4 people representing the UAE to fly out there. 3 Emiratis and 1 Irish expatriate begin a quest to be counted as the fittest on earth in the CrossFit Games in Madison, Wisconsin, which is massive. I have a lot of respect for people who put themselves in these games, in these challenges, who qualify, who put the hard work in. That's when it really becomes a lifestyle. And seeing these 4 incredible athletes go out there and do their thing for the UAE, that is massive. That is so impressive. Each one of them obviously has their own path and their own journey, which is interesting. I'm trying to get at least one of them on the show, which would be very cool. Team Dubai competed against teams in Russia, Japan and Korea during 3 regional stages leading to the final. Owing to COVID restrictions, of course, all workouts were submitted on video. Now, Shahad Budebs especially, that's someone I've been trying to get her on the show since December 2019. So that's probably about 280 shows ago. And I'm trying to get her on now, which is going to be cool. I really like to hear all the different journeys, and especially that she represents a lot of things, not just for Arabs or Muslims, but also for females competing with hijabs on. That, you know, at that point, it just becomes about the athlete. And that's what I really, really love. It's not about how you look or where you're from or anything. It just comes down to that. So I'm really interested to see how she's doing out there. I've seen some of the things, and she actually had a message for women in the Middle East saying, what I'm saying to Arab girls and women is don't be afraid of comments that because we are covered, we can't play some games. If other women can reach this level, why can't we? We can have the courage to show the world that we are Arab women and nothing can stop us. That's what I mean. I'm very, very impressed with Shahad, and she's come a long way as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully, if we can get her on the show and talk to her a little bit about that, because with CrossFit and with, you know, how it kind of boomed on the scene at one point. We're talking like a couple of years back, and everyone was trying to do CrossFit. Now, the principles of CrossFit and the moves of CrossFit origins from the Olympics and the Olympic lifters. But now what they've done is they've modified a lot of the movements and a lot of the exercises to be able to put them in a challenge to compete against people all around the world. Now, whether they win or not, the fact that they've reached those heights and they've reached those levels where they are competing against your Koreas and Russias and all these type of different countries and nations, that in itself is massive. And we spoke about earlier, you know, what sport has the fittest athletes? Well, there isn't one answer that defines everything, but when you Googled it, water polo came up. And I also think what CrossFitters put themselves through is very interesting. I was speaking to my physio about this earlier. Very, very interesting, because the different movements from the snatches and cleans and presses and pull-ups and, you know, handstands and hand walks and all sorts of things is very vast on the body. So you see their type of the body types, and you see what they put themselves through. It's a lot of maintenance as well. It's not really something that anyone can just jump into, and that's why I always say, please be careful when you jump into, let's say, a class for the first time. I always think there should always be an induction when it comes down to CrossFit, because you need to learn the foundations, the principles. Some people call it the boring stuff first before you get to the real meat of, you know, the CrossFit workouts, which can be extremely demanding and add a lot of stress on the body. So the fact that these UAE athletes have made it to Wisconsin and they're representing the region is huge for the UAE, and huge for also the aspiring athletes that want to reach those heights, because once people touch the surface, then all of a sudden it opens out gates for so many different people all around the world. Shout out to Ish and Fahad, who have just joined us in the room on Instagram, Omar Al-Duri. And like I said, the question of the day, which I've asked, I'm going to ask it one more time before I take a break, is what sport has the fittest athletes on the planet? I'll see you right after the break. Enjoy, folks.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. The question of the day, what sport has the fittest athletes on the planet? And speaking about athletes, we got some cool ones on the Instagram at the moment, talking to me and keeping me company. What's up, Khalid? I see you. Fahad, Mustafa, Rashid, Nashwa is also here as well. She was on the show. She was awesome. Ish, Masood, Florin, Niji, Miss Melly, and of course, our very own Maria as well, who's here. Right, okay, so a couple of things we were asking you in terms of the first couple of segments. But you know what? If you actually Googled the fittest athlete ever, you know what comes out? Again, something else they probably didn't imagine. The fittest sport, according to Google, was water polo. And the fittest athlete ever was actually none of the sports you mentioned, which again will get you guessing. MLS, I know you had some good guesses on there. Bo Jackson, do you know who that is? Do you guys know who Bo Jackson is? Bo Jackson is an American professional baseball player. Vincent Edward Bo Jackson is an American former professional baseball and football player. He's the only professional athlete in history to be named an all-star in both sports, baseball and football, American football. And Jackson's elite achievements in multiple sports has given him the reputation as one of the greatest athletes of all time. He's 58 years old at the moment, and he's the person that has the craziest stats and is the person put forward as the greatest athlete of all time, achieving it in 2 different sports. Now, we were talking about this earlier, and I was really interested to see what you guys would say, but I was watching the Olympics the other night, and the person, I was watching the 5,000 meters. Wow. You know, for these athletes to be running the 5,000 meters in the time they're doing it in. The person who won that, Sifan Hassan of Netherlands, I think originally she from Ethiopia, I think. She, you know, watching the composure and the fact that she was doing what she was doing at the Olympics and won. Incredible. She got gold in 14 minutes, 36 seconds. And her final lap was clocked at 57.36 seconds. Wow. She said, I'm an Olympic champion. How did that happen? I'm super happy and I cannot believe it, especially after what happened this morning. Hassan said in a release from her agent, I thought it wasn't going to happen, but these last 2 rounds, I stuck around with them, and now I'm an Olympic champion, and I'm really, really happy. She actually gives credit to coffee. I bet you now she's got a coffee deal or something. She represents the Netherlands, obviously, in the Olympics, but Ethiopian born, and she's 28. The final lap sprint to win in 14 minutes, 36.79 seconds is just phenomenal. She required a little assistance to carry her over the finish line, and she said, without coffee, I would never be the Olympic champion, she joked. I'm telling you now, those coffee brands are probably on her like crazy. But again, so nice to see people's dreams being achieved, and the fact that she did that was incredible. We were talking about all the different types of athletes. There's a different type of fitness, and sometimes when you look at these athletes, like I remember looking at 100-meter sprinter versus a 42k runner, and I think, wow, you see the 100-meter sprinter quite bulky, very muscular, very explosive, and then you see, the marathon runners quite slim, in their physiques and in their body types. You could look at both of them and think, I wonder which one would last in a race. And it would shock the world. So you obviously never judge a book by its cover, but that's the type of thing I look at. Then I look at swimmer's body type versus a rugby athlete, and I think again, rugby doesn't require armor or protection on gear and stuff like that, but a swimmer's body type is very slim and very lean. And you think of Michael Phelps when he was saying that he was consuming 10,000 calories a day. That's again mind-boggling. So it's got that theme today, and I want you to continue to send your answers in. What sport has the fittest athletes on the planet? We're going to take a break. We're going to play you some Justin Timberlake Intentions, and we'll be right back after the break.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Yes.
It's Arsenal and Thomas Partey.
I've got a jam to this tune. Love Doneo, by the way. Okay, right. So we asked you the question today: what sport has the fittest athletes? And you know what? Speaking about the fittest athletes, the UAE's finest, fittest athletes are out in Wisconsin right now representing. Shout out to them and good luck out there. You're doing us proud. Anyway, a lot of different answers coming in. On that one, and I kind of like what I'm hearing. But there's been so many different answers that there's not one that really, really is the end all of fittest athletes. But the people that Googled it were surprised that water polo came out. When you typed out fittest athlete, then in the end, what came out is Bo Jackson of all time, which is very, very interesting. The Tokyo and skateboard and athletics is happening just now as we speak. And apparently, Jack Grealish is signing for Manchester City. That should be announced, if not later on tonight, then tomorrow, according to reports. Just digging around from our topic of the day. What's up, Eunice? I see you. What sport do you need to be the fittest for? The one that came out is tennis, boxing, skiing, and squash. I haven't heard anyone say squash so far, so that's interesting. And then I've got what is the healthiest sport in the world? Squash comes out first, which is very, very interesting. What sport is most attractive? This is all according to Google, by the way. What sport is the most attractive? And a huge 13% of respondents said that they found swimming the most attractive sport for someone to participate in. I think that's very, very cool. What sport has the most versatile athletes? Basketball. Very interesting. They're strong and possess an impressive amount of speed and agility, and of course they possess amazing jumping ability, and the wide range of their athletic abilities makes them the most versatile athletes in sport, thus the best athletes. That's a good argument. I like that. Who is the fittest current athlete in the world? And according to Sports Illustrated 50 fittest athletes, LeBron James is first and Cristiano Ronaldo is second. Wowzers, very interesting. I think the Cristiano Ronaldo shout is probably, a lot of people would say, that's definitely up there. If you talk about Olympians, and people always think of Michael Phelps as well, which is, I mean, you can't knock him down. He's won 28 medals and 23 of those were gold. So yeah, I would definitely say that. What is the least athletic sport? Golf. Although golf is hard. Have you tried golf? Golf isn't easy. But apparently that's the least athletic. And this is all obviously compared to, this is all on Google with different answers. But yeah, that's very, very interesting. The topic of the day today, as I said, is what sport has the fittest athletes. Guys, if you do like the show, please head over to Google review and leave your comments on the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio. We appreciate that. And obviously, if you missed the shows, don't worry. They're all available on YouTube on Pulse 95 Radio or on podcast, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. And Rami, Mustafa, all the hair fixing get you fit. Which sport are you talking about? Hats, you missed a good show, man. Make sure you check it out. Swimming, 100%. Again, see, I would not knock that. I think that's a very, very good shout on the best and the athletes that come out from the fittest athletes come out from the sports. It's surprising not many people said. Actually, I don't think anyone said football, or as you call it, soccer. For some of you guys. I don't know. I think it requires a lot of physical fitness and mental fitness as well. Tennis? Did anyone say tennis? I know you said squash as well. But yeah, we have reached full time on the halftime show. Thank you very much for spending the hour with me. Really, really enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I will be back on Saturday, 3 to 4 UAE time in the heart of Sharjah on Pulse 95 Radio. Sending you love and energy. Coming up next is the Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikael Atiyah. Have a great day, folks, and I will see you soon. Peace and love.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.